It was another 12-hour day at the sandwich shop called Lucky's that Merlina worked at, but she wasn't ready to go to sleep. She wasn't exactly content with her life of working 60 hours a week with nothing to show for it, so she would try to do something creative at home, but was met with failure after failure. Piles of Misha Pen jewelry and half-written poems littered her living room. It was only a matter of time before she'd clean this mess up, she'd tell herself. She was a short, raven-haired woman with green eyes. She closed Lucky's down, locking it up safe and sound as a few of her coworkers walked out of the store. "See ya later, Sharon," she said to a pale, red-haired man. He had a fragile look about him which came across as very feminine. His blue eyes shifted to her green ones and then back to the sidewalk. She always wondered what was on his mind, but it was like he had a cold outer shell that prevented the sun from getting in. "Yeah, I'll see you later," Sharon said through what looked like a forced smile. He was always like that. It was no use in worrying about it since she couldn't control another person's emotions. All she could do was focus on how she felt and how she reacted to a situation. She walked home alone in the darkness of the night. The atmosphere had an eerie vibe to her, but she didn't stop to get afraid or worried. After all, what good would that do when she couldn't afford a car? 30 minutes later she reached her apartment where her roommate Raven Grimm sat on his futon playing video games. He had smooth brown skin that wasn't too dark and long black hair. He was also feminine like Sharon, but he wasn't at the same time. His wardrobe was feminine to match his features. Black tight pants and a cute oversized black hoodie were his usual wardrobe. "Hey Stinky," Raven said over his video game. She chuckled at the nickname he gave her. "I don't know about you, but I am pooped," she said as she noticed she did smell bad after a hard day's work. "I'm going to go get a shower. Do we want to order delivery for dinner?" Merlina said, not really feeling like cooking. They ordered Chinese takeout on the Uber Eats app before Merlina slipped into the shower to freshen up. As soon as she got out, Raven had the living room television showing a group of women who successfully made a bakery together. The women were very attractive, most of them being blonde. One of the blondes with especially long hair looked like the leader. There was a sweet and tender look about her. There on her finger was a giant pink diamond that seemed to sparkle like there was something it wanted to communicate, but couldn't. Connie's Bakery. That's what it was called. Their shop had an assortment of baked goods and no two items were alike. "It looks overpriced," Merlina said sitting by Raven. "It probably costs an arm and leg just for a cupcake," Raven said as he put some of his devil's lettuce in his pipe and smoked it. Merlina opened the door to get the food and thought about smoking some too, but given what she'd experienced with it, she thought she'd pass. She ate and soon got under the covers of her bed. The clean sheets felt nice against her skin. She closed her eyes thinking of Sharon, and soon it was morning time. She sighed as she got up to get dressed for another day of work. Her job was making her just over broke and she was sick of it. She vaguely wondered how Sharon kept coming in when everyone else kept quitting. He was hanging on just as much as she was, but for how long? She got dressed in her work uniform and began walking to work. She grabbed a piece of toast and jelly on her way out. She'd eat lunch at work. Raven had gone to work already. As she was walking, she noticed down an alley that there was a store with a gemstone for the logo. It was called Lapis in Aeternum, and outside of that there wasn't any real indication of what the store sold. Maybe it was a jewelry store. It would have to wait for one of her days off. She left and started unlocking the door to Lucky's sandwich shop when Sharon showed up puffing on his vape again. "Another day in hell," Sharon said after blowing a puff of his vape. "At least hell has variety," Merlina said, giving him a cute smirk. With the preciseness of a samurai sword, she made sandwiches while Sharon rang up their orders. Eventually they closed for lunch. Merlina made sandwiches for her and Sharon. They sat at the table and began to eat their sandwiches when Merlina thought of something to say. "Hey Sharon, do you know anything about a store called Lapis in Aeternum?" Yes, I've heard it's where you go when you have a death wish, Sharon said as he took a sip of coffee. Surely they wouldn't let them stay open if it was a place where people died. Merlina said smugly, feeling sure of herself. You're an idiot, you know that, Sharon said, waving his vape around before taking a puff of it. I'm not the one crystallizing my lungs with cat piss, Merlina snapped before hungrily devouring her sandwich and chips. The day wore on and soon 9 o'clock hit. It was closing time. They cleaned up the store, putting everything away for tomorrow's rush. Merlina was the last one out as usual. The daily grind was over. She locked the door after Sharon had left, and soon she was staring down at the alleyway where Lapis in Aeternum stood. She thought for a long moment about going inside, but hesitation and doubt were abundant in that choice. Maybe another day. Maybe another time. It would still be there tomorrow, she told herself as she left, walking home in the dark, the light pollution drowning out the stars in the sky. To be continued.